Hi, everybody, and welcome to the John J. Lee Amphitheater in New Haven, Connecticut. It's senior day today at Yale University as the Bulldogs host the Brown Bears in NCAA women's gymnastics. Along with Allison Gaskins, I'm Josh Hess, and Allison, there's a lot of excitement in the air today due to senior day for the Bulldogs. 5 total seniors on the team, 3 competing in today's events, and it's really just a culmination of a great career, a great senior class, and, of course, an Ivy League dual meet against Brown today.
It's an emotional meet for the senior class here at Yale. Their last time getting to compete at home in front of their home crowd. This is a meet that they will all remember as life progresses and something that they'll look back on and hopefully are proud of their performances, proud of their team effort, most importantly, and Yale has a lot to be proud of. This is a senior class that has broken just about every single record for the Yale gymnastics program. Their motto this season is Build a Legacy 2019. That is how this senior class wants to go out.
So it's the Yale-Brown dual meet. The first rotation sees Yale on the vault and Brown on the uneven bars.
Yale will work through that Olympic order, so they'll go vault, bars, beam, then floor. Alternating with Brown, so Brown starting on bars. They'll then move to vault, floor, and finally beam.
This is the first time these two teams are competing against each other this season, as we've got the end of the touch period, so we're just about ready to get going here. And like you said, Allison, Yale starts on the vault and Brown on the uneven bars, and we'll look at Anna Jennings first for the Bulldogs.
Anna Jennings averaging a 9.59 on the vault this season. She'll compete a tuck full. Little bit of leg separation, small hop back, but that was a good vault for the leadoff spot for the Bulldogs.
Solid performance, gets a round of high fives from her teammates, and on the other side for Brown, their first competitor is Alyssa Gardner on the uneven bars.
Gardner with a pack salto down to the low bar. She had a beautiful single release bar move, a ginger right before that release, down to low bar, and it's been a good bar routine so far. Little leg separation there in the handstands, but connected that full turn to a double back dismount.
Both teams off to solid starts as the sophomore gets Brown going. The other side for Yale now, it's the all-around competitor, Jade Buford, up for the Bulldogs.
So both leadoff athletes doing exactly what they were put in the lineup to do. They just want to get a first hit routine. Brown had that on bars. Yale had it on vault. That kind of sets the pace for the rest of the rotation. Jade Buford up next on vault. Buford competes a front handspring, front pike, a 9.9 start value, so not quite at a 10. But she is the lone all-around athlete in this meet.
Buford still getting set to go. It's been a pair of juniors to get the senior day going for the Bulldogs. Anna Jennings, you saw the junior from Indianapolis, and Buford, the junior from Coppell, Texas.
And Jade is set to go. Approaching the vault table. That front handspring, front tuck. That should post a pretty big score for Yale. Again, on the vault, judges are looking for a variety of different things. They're looking for the amplitude, they're looking for distance, and they're looking for form. Jade getting very good height off that vault. Good distance. Broke form just a little bit, so maybe a slight deduction, but that was a solid vault for Jade Buford.
Still waiting for Brown to go for the second time, and here's another look at Jade.
And there's that height. She has enough height to get full rotation. She opens up for the landing, and that's the most important thing, just to flare the end of a vault to open up for a landing, because landings are created in the air. So it's all about having that awareness, finding that form, and opening up in the right time.
Now we've got our first senior for the Bulldogs, Jessica Wang from Chino Hills, California, to start her final home meet of the season.
In the meantime, Brown competing a beautiful bar routine.
That's Caroline Warren.
She's been very solid so far. Nice handstand. Legs just glued together there, connecting to the double back. And that was a stuck landing for Brown. Caroline Warren, that'll post a big score.
Very solid performance for the sophomore from South Carolina, and here goes Wang.
Wang competing a Yuchenko full, big hop back. They do deduct for the distance that you hop back, so a bigger hop is going to be a bigger deduction. We'll take a look back at that bar routine, though, by Warren. There's the Ginger release move. You want to see a little bit higher than that free hip to a handstand as she connects to a bail down to the low bar, and she'll finish off with that full turn connected to a double back dismount. That's going to get you those extra bonus points, and most importantly, the stuck landing, last thing the judges see. As for Wang, competing that Yuchenko full, form impeccable. The only deduction I saw on that vault was the hop back at the end. You want to try to glue your feet to the mat for that stick.
Bulldogs moving quickly through the vault portion. Charlotte Cooperman is next up for the Bulldogs.
Charlotte Cooperman is averaging a 9.69 on the vault. She competes also a Yuchenko full. And those Yuchenko fulls, unfortunately, don't start from a 10.0 start value. They just start from a 9.95. So pretty close. Charlotte Cooperman has been very consistent on the vault this season. She had hand surgery last year, but she has come back and become a big contributor both on beam and vault for Yale. Landing, not what she wanted there, but the height was very good. She got a lot of block off the table, which is when you just can push through your shoulders. You want to use that to get the height up and off of the vault. So we'll take a look back at the vault for Charlotte Cooperman. You see she gets good height, piked down a bit on the end, took too many steps back. Unfortunately, she will get a few deductions for those steps.
And for Brown, here is Emma Hansen.
Starting with a good release move, free hip to handstand, perfectly hit handstand there. Over to a pack salto down the low bar. Missed the handstand on the low bar. She'll work her way back up. And judges are really looking for those hit handstands. They're looking for a perfect line. And falling out of that last handstand. Went a little too far on that dismount. Again, it's not about the distance. You want to see the height on the dismount. You want to see your rotation happen above the high bar. Here's that free hip to a handstand. Very difficult move down the low bar. That's that pack salto. And then the dismount here just mistimed a bit. See, she went too far out. Rotation just a little short. Wasn't able to land with her feet underneath. Alyssa Firth also competing a Yuchenko full for Yale. Yale not able to find their landings on vault yet. Working their way through the season, that is always a focus. You need to start getting those stuck landings. And she had the ability to do it there, just took the step back, checking her balance. But Alyssa Firth is also an athlete for Yale who has developed tremendously since her freshman year. Her first year at Yale, she's become an all-around contender for them. She's not competing all-around today, I don't believe, but she has the ability to compete all 4 events for Yale when they need her.
Well, speaking of all-around, as we take a look at the uneven bars for Brown, this is Sophia Petrillo, who usually competes all-around for Brown.
Yeah, she is an athlete who has been working just on her consistency and her confidence this season. She's a freshman and a lot on her shoulders when she's competing all-around. In the meantime, Rebecca Chong going on vault, which catch the end of that. Competing Yuchenko half.
And back over to Petrillo on the uneven bars.
Full turn.
Last time out for her, she set a season high 9.775.
Toe on handstand. Bail down the low bar, stuck it in the handstand. That's again, judges are always looking for those handstands. They're looking for fluidity as well on bars. A bar routine has to consistently be moving. Double A dismount. Very difficult dismount because in that double A, you need to have your hips opened up so that you're in a perfect line. A lot of the times you'll see athletes overarch or pike their hips down, but that was good body placement. And that's what did it, that bail down the low bar to handstand. Looking very confident, very solid, and she just attacks this double A dismount.
And she and her entire team seem pretty stoked after
she tried
that
to cover
landing.
up that step on the landing, tried to turn straight to the judges. That will be a small deduction, but that was another solid bar routine for Brown.
So here's the exhibition for Yale on the vault, J.C. Baldovino.
J.C. Baldovino, the ECAC Rookie of the Year last year. Didn't get around on that rotation, fell a little bit short. You saw she didn't get too much distance from the table, height or distance-wise. But that's an exhibition, and that's okay in the exhibitions. You're just working on building your momentum, building your confidence in a given apparatus.
She didn't have to worry about getting scored on that, as she is also the reigning ECAC Gymnast of the Week last week. But now back over to the uneven bars with May Lee Costa.
May Lee Costa, two-time ECAC Rookie of the Week this year. She's one of their quiet leaders, talking to their head coach, Sarah Carver-Lane. She has a season high of a 9.875 on this apparatus.
Average is just under a 9.72, so she's got some high scores throughout the season.
Straddle Jaeger. Her way down to the low bar. And you have to work between both the low bar and the high bar to get full credit. Full turn. Connecting to double back. And that stick. Nothing feels better than when you are able to put up a solid routine and find your stick at the end. Again, stick, the last thing that the judges see when they're tallying up your score. And this was a beautiful routine. You see that straddle Jaeger. Got enough height on those same bar release moves. You want to land just perfectly with the bar so that you're not on top of it. And the double back dismount, best part though, that stuck landing, just zeroed in on it.
And the head coach for Brown, Sarah Carver-Milne, came right over too to give her a big high five. She's wearing a maroon sweater this afternoon if you're looking for her on the picture.
Carver-Milne was actually an athlete at Alaska Anchorage, and she brought her team over to Alaska at the top of the season. They had 2 meets against Alaska Anchorage. That's her alma mater. She said she hasn't taken a team there in 9 years, but there is something special about this group of young women that she wanted to bring them to her alma mater, and it was just an experience of a lifetime for their program. She said no one on her roster had been to Alaska before, so it was their first experience in that cold weather up there.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody was excited until they saw on the schedule they were going to have to be there January 11th through 13th.
Yeah, that is cold. She said they saw a moose outside of their hotel, which was a pretty cool experience.
During the 4 hours of daylight.
They ate a lot of Alaska food. They climbed one of the mountains, so they had a really cool team bonding experience up in Alaska.
Here's Kate Nelson now on the uneven bars.
Mistimed that release move. Fall on bars. 5/10 deduction.
And she gets some time now to just collect herself once more before heading back up on the bars.
And sometimes you'll see athletes just jump right up and continue. A lot of the times you will see them take some time to go re-chalk up before they make their way back to the bar to kind of re-catch their breath, reorganize their thoughts. So she'll have to shake that off and try to finish up strong here for Brown. And that was the first big mistake that Brown has made on the bars this meet. But she's looking confident, keeps it moving. Bail to handstand down to the low bar.
Looks like she's trying to come away with a little bit more power this time around too.
Yeah, you can see she's just locked in. She's attacking the rest of this bar move a little close to the bar. Maybe on that dismount. You want to see her get a little bit further away from the bar so you don't have to hold your breath, but way to finish it.
We'll take a look here at just a slight fall.
Yeah, so she was going just, again, mistimed, too far away to re-grasp. But again, she finished strong. She was able to compose herself. She got back up there.
I think she even nicked the bar with her foot on the way down.
Yeah, she might have, and that's Again, something you kind of have to hold your breath on when you're watching. You don't ever want to see an athlete get too close to the bar on their dismount. Especially because when you do hit those bars with your feet on a dismount or on a same bar release move, it hurts.
So 6 athletes down for the Brown Bears on the uneven bars. Here's Abby Walsh now. Walsh's season high came a few meets ago, 9.550, averages just a 9.425 on this event.
Starting on the high bar. Good speed so far on bars. But another fall, so that means Brown will have to count a fall. That's just unfortunate. It's hard when one of your teammates before you has a fall. It's really difficult to get up, be the next athlete in the lineup, and have to go out there. You have a lot of pressure to really get a hit routine. So it's important to be able to shake that off.
But at the same time, it's better to get these mistakes and work these kinks out in a dual meet situation, because next week, next Saturday, down in Philadelphia, it's the Ivy Classic. And of course, that's always one of the most competitive meets of the season. Brown and Yale, 2 of the better teams in the Ivy League this year.
Yeah, Yale finished champions of the Ivy Classic last year. Brown finished 4th out of 4. So they finished in that last place spot. They are definitely going to be looking to improve that score this coming season. Difficult bar routine to have to get through, but you learn a lot about an athlete when they can get back up there and finish the routine off.
We've got one more competitor now for the Brown Bears on the uneven bars. It's Aaron Howell, who will step up as the last athlete to compete in this first rotation.
Yale trying to stay warmed up in the meantime, because they will be moving over to bars next.
The 2 teams will flip from what they had in this first rotation. Brown will head over to the vault, and as you said, Yale on the bars. Overall, Allison, Yale has been very good on the vault this season, averaging over 48 per meet. Last time out, very good score, 48.350. Second meet of the season is when they set their season high, 48.375, but we really saw a great routine overall from the Yale side this time, and they could set a new season high in the vault.
And they haven't even reached their full potential on the vault yet. They have a lot of landings that they can stick, and if they're able to get at least 3 sticks in their 5 routines that they are going to count, and their 5 vaults that they'll count, that could really increase their overall team score on that apparatus. So something Coach Barbatonry will definitely be focusing on before the Ivy Classic and the ECAC meet that lie ahead. Ginger, that same bar, release move, free hip to handstand. A shoot over or a bail down low bar, interchangeable names for that skill. Full turn, connected to the double back. Just too much on it, landed on her heels, over-rotated.
She played it off pretty cool.
Yeah, those are the falls that don't hurt. When you over-rotate, you land on your heels and you kind of fall back.
So we've got 1 rotation in the books. Yale on the vault, Brown on the bars. The 2 teams will switch as we step aside for the second rotation. Back in New Haven, 1 rotation in the books. Yale was on the vault, Brown on the uneven bars. Let's take a look back at that first rotation, and then we'll give you the scores from the first rotation.
Some of the highlights for Brown on bars, they were pretty consistent as a team. They had a bunch of athletes competing that Ginger, that difficult same bar release move, and they had 2 stuck landings that they were able to count in their team score for the uneven bars. Double pike. But on a vault, Yale remains consistent. It's Jessica Wang competing the Yuchenko full. Alyssa Firth also with the Yuchenko full. Very good vault for Firth, just that small step back. Not too big of a deduction. But Rebecca Chong came up with a big Yuchenko half. small hop. Overall, their team score almost was the highest of the season. Very close, but they have remained very consistent on the vault.
So the Bulldogs lead by .125 after that first rotation. Yale 48-325, just a few points shy of their season high. And on the other side for Brown, 48.2. Their season high is 48.875. So definitely some room for improvement for the Brown Bears. They had a couple of falls that went into the scoring as well. Their highest score was Maylee Costa's score of 9.850. Second highest was Sophia Petrillo, 9.750. And for Yale, their highest score, well, they had three athletes, all come away with 9.675. That was Jade Buford, Jessica Wang, and Alyssa Firth. All led the Bulldogs to that 48-325 score.
And that was a good, consistent vault effort by Yale. They didn't have to count any falls. So maybe not the highest score that they're capable of, but they were consistent, and they were able to get off to a pretty strong start in this meet.
So we've got just under 30 seconds to go in this in the first touch period after the first rotation. Bulldogs have moved over to the bars, and Brown is going to be on the vault.
So there's a 2-minute break between every event, and then a 4-minute touch warm-up. Yale finishing up that touch warm-up right now with Roxanne Trachtenberg on bars.
The Bulldogs' first competitor on the uneven bars will be Jade Buford, who is competing all around for Yale.
And this is a chance here for Brown to come back, try to tie the meet up.
Bulldogs on the season have a high of 48.675 on the uneven bars.
You can see Brown on your screen right now getting pumped up, ready to go on vault. A lot of smiles in that huddle. And that's the best thing about collegiate gymnastics. Before competing in college, these athletes compete at the club level, and they all just really compete individually. So this is the first time when they are able to make it to collegiate gymnastics that they get to compete as a team and as a unit, and that's something that a lot of the athletes take a lot of joy and pride in, because you get to root for each other instead of against each other, which is typical in the club level.
The Bears break their huddle. They're set to go for the vault. Morgan Hagenbuch will be first up for Brown, and for Yale, as mentioned, Jade Buford is getting set to go on the uneven bars, but we'll start with Hagenbuch, the senior from Norwich, New York.
Getting a little fist bump from her teammates.
This is the second time this season she's competing in the vault.
Jade gets started on bars simultaneous.
And Hagenbuch's season high is a 9.55.
This will set the pace on vault for Brown. Uchenko half.
Then we'll switch over to Buford. Take a look back in just a moment at some of the highlights from her vault routine, but Allison, based on the reception she's getting from her teammates, seems like everything went pretty well.
You see assistant coach Jason Collins in your screen also telling the crowd, come on, get pumped up for that stuck landing. Jade Buford getting it done in the leadoff position on the uneven bars for Yale. And we'll check out that stuck landing here. The height, incredible. It's a full-in dismount, perfectly landed. I mean, she opened up at the right time. Again, that landing was created in the air. You could see from the release that she was bound to stick it.
She's coming off a 9.575 last week on the uneven bars, has a season high of 9.7, and that looked to be a very solid routine as we head back over to the vault and Kate Nelson.
And Jade might be getting a brand new season high. There's a career high in the 9.8s.
Started her afternoon with a very solid vault as well as the Yale all-around competitor this afternoon.
Uchenko full.
Looked to be a nice stuck landing for Kate Nelson on the other side for Brown.
The points on this vault are going to come off on the form in the air, however. She does get good height and pretty good distance, but you see those legs not in a tuck formation or a pike. So I believe she was supposed to keep those legs straight. It was going to be a Yuchenko full, but it looked like she kind of drew him in a bit, which will be a deduction.
Bulldogs get set for their second competitor on the uneven bars, Kendall Toy for Yale. Toy, the first year from Coppell, Texas, competing in her first event this afternoon.
Straddle Jaeger. A lot of height on that same bar release. A shoot over, down to the low bar. Landed it in that 180-degree handstand. Her handstands have just been on point in this bar routine. Beautiful. Full turn to a double back dismount. A small hop on that landing, but that was another really good bar routine by the Bulldogs.
So far, Yale having a lot of success over on the bars, and now we'll take a look at Gabrielle Hechtman on the vault.
Front handspring, front pike. Not able to get the full rotation in. The fall will be a 5/10 deduction.
We'll take a look back at Toy on the bars.
I mean, she was just attacking this bar routine. Such a good straddle Jaeger there. Distance just great for the regrasp as she works her way down to the low bar, stays composed the entire length of this routine, connects that full turn also to the double back, gets a lot of height. Again, that hop back. Frustrating there because she had an ability to stick the landing, but that was a very, very good routine. And that pike, the front handspring, front pike, again, just short on the rotation. She needed to get a bit more block off the table, a little bit more height to be able to complete that vault.
Lindsay Chia about to go for the Bulldogs on the uneven bars. Alyssa Gardner set to go for Brown on the vault as well. They'll run simultaneously. Looks like Gardner is ready to go first. Sophomore from New York.
Lindsay Chia on bars though. To handstand, toe on, blind change, straddle Jaeger. Yale looking very confident on the uneven bars.
She's got a season best of a 9-8.
I mean, every routine just on point right now. Great form. Who just didn't have enough momentum, enough strength to get over. Toe on, front tuck, half turn. Frustrating that she lost her momentum in the middle of that routine right before her dismount, but before that she was rocking the bars.
And here's the vault that was going simultaneously.
Yuchenko full, and that was their best vault so far for Brown.
Alyssa Gardner got a nice ovation from the rest of her team. We take another look back at Shia.
And that's where she just lost that momentum. So unfortunate because she's a beautiful bar worker. Toe on, front tuck, half. Able to finish strong, but again, losing that momentum, it's really difficult to swing back out of that because it takes so much energy away from your bar routine when you have to muscle it up and you have to use more energy than needed after you lose that momentum.
Now the senior Julia Green.
A lot of speed. Front handspring, front pike. So much rotation on that one. Very different than what we saw earlier in the front handspring, front pike coming from Brown. This one, just too much energy. She got great distance, though, from the table, and you can tell by the way she set up this vault. So much power, so much speed, good form. She got a lot of height, just a little too much. Had to take that step forward to check herself.
And she really came around with a lot of momentum. J.C. Baldovino gets set for the Bulldogs on the uneven bars, a native of California. Baldovino has a season high of a 9-8 on the bars, and that happened last week. Looks to compose herself as Maylee Costa is also ready to go for Brown on the vault.
Athletes always having to wait until the judges are done first, scoring the previous routine or the previous vault before they were able to get set to go, but vault will be first here. Another Yuchenko full. That one chest too low on the landing. On the vault, you do want to see the athlete finish their rotation with their head above the level of the vault table. So that one just a bit low on the chest. Boldavina with a blind change to a pike Jaeger. Working this bar set very nicely so far. Just that double back dismount. Slightly short. You wanted to see her open up a half a second earlier and she would have had that stick.
Final competitor for Brown, but first we'll take another look back at that uneven bar routine.
I love that pike Jaeger. She just attacks that move. She does a good job at keeping her form in the air, and then she finished with this double back again. Look at how tight her legs are together in the air. Just great form.
This is Sophia Petrillo, the exhibition routine for Brown. Petrillo did compete in the uneven bars.
Competing Yuchenko lay. So Yuchenko layout. No twisting involved. You might want to upgrade that moving forward eventually. But again, just an exhibition, a chance to get scored, get the nerves out in that meet environment.
And a very solid landing as well. And we've seen Brown have some trouble on the landings in the vault event so far this afternoon. So good finish to their routine, even though that will not be counted towards the final score. Still a few more athletes to go for Yale on the uneven bars. Roxanne Trachtenberg, Jessica Wang, and then Alyssa Firth is the exhibition.
Roxanne Trachtenberg, one of the seniors competing in this meet today. She has the ability to pull a big score on the uneven bars. Full turn. Ginger
has a season high of a 9.825 on this event.
Oh, and too much on that handstand. Just lost form, but at least she didn't come off the bars. Works her way down to the low bar on a shoot over. That was an unfortunate error in her routine. Not very often you see Trachtenberg make that type of mistake. She finished though with a double A stuffed landing dismount.
So still is able to recover and finish smoothly despite one small hiccup in her routine. A nice finish for Roxanne Trachtenberg in her final home meet.
Here's that Ginger again. Landed a little short on it. She was a little on top of the bars because you don't want to see the arms bend when they have to regrasp, but that was where she just lost her core, lost her midsection, had a little too much going. She was really trying to fight to hit those perfect handstands and just had too much. Piked down a bit on that second rotation for the double A, but that stuck landing, again, the most important thing in collegiate gymnastics.
Trachtenberg only competed on the bars in last week's meet. That's the only event she'll be competing in today as well, so hopefully she's happy with her score in the final home meet, though not the final meet of the season for the Bulldogs. Still plenty to look forward to, especially next week with the Ivy Classic down in Philadelphia.
And this is a good opportunity for both Yale and Brown to compete against one another before that Ivy Classic, to become a bit familiar with each other before having to move to that quad meet.
Jessica Wang is up now, the sixth competitor for the Bulldogs on the uneven bars, before Alyssa Firth takes the floor as the exhibition.
And Wang has the ability to pull a huge score on the uneven bars. That's why she's the anchor. You put your best rotation, your best athlete in that anchor position in the lineup because you want to dare the judges to just give you the highest score in the rotation. Jessica Wang proving right now she deserves a high score.
Season high of a 9.875.
That is going to be one big score. I would be surprised if the judges didn't score that in a 9.9 or above.
Well, Jessica Wang has had some pretty high scores in this event. Her career high is a 9.9. That was the highest score last year for all Yale athletes.
Transition down to low bar, little leg separation, a slight deduction, but again, the judges are sitting on the side, so they might not see that as clear as we have. She finishes with an aggressive full-in dismount. Legs stay pretty close together, but that stuck landing, she did everything she could to glue those feet to the mat.
It's the sign of approval from head coach Barbara Tonry as well.
It looks like it might be a 9.85, not in the 9.9s, but she definitely was testing the judges there to give her a huge score. That was a great routine by Jessica Wang.
It's still a very solid routine, like you said. So one more competitor still to go for Yale, Alyssa Firth, competing as the exhibition.
Talked about Alyssa Firth a bit when she competed the vault. She's also capable of being an all-around athlete for Yale, which is really important, just being a sophomore.
Chance to learn and grow a little bit. Her season high on the bars this year is a 9.475.
She's working through this bar routine effortlessly so far. Just the dismount left. And that is a routine that Firth can be very happy about. She went up as the exhibition, able to pull out a solid, clean routine.
So everybody has competed in this second rotation. Now we are halfway through in New Haven. Both teams have gone on the vault and the uneven bars. When we'll come back, we'll have highlights from that second rotation as well as the full team scores so far in the meet. This meet is taking place in New Haven, Connecticut. Halfway through in New Haven, the dual meet between Yale and Brown on senior day here at the John J. Lee Amphitheater for the Yale women's gymnastics squad. Both teams have competed on the vault and uneven bars at the moment. Yale on the last rotation was on the bars. Brown was on the vault. Let's take a look back at some of those highlights, Allison.
Well, to get started, Brown had a pretty good vault rotation. They had a lot of big, high vaults, nearly stuck landings on a couple of them. This one really sticks out, the front handspring front pike. She's had so much height, and again, the judges are looking for that height, that distance, and the form, but how about that stuck landing?
On the other side, the Bulldogs had a really solid routine on the uneven bars.
Yeah, nearly every single athlete looking so confident and so strong on the bars. A few little mistakes, but all in all, Jessica Wang finished in that anchor position on bars for Yale, and she put up a huge score of a 9.85.
We're still waiting on some of the individual scores as a whole with just over 90 seconds to go until the start of the third rotation. Yale is on the balance beam, Brown on the floor exercise. And Allison, now that we've shifted completely away from the vault and the uneven bars, what are the judges looking for in these two rotations now that's left with the beam and the floor?
A lot of the times you'll see an athlete who has that power on the floor transition, have the same power on the beam. So really in both of these apparatuses, they're looking for a ton of different things. To start off with on beam, they're looking for rhythm. You have to keep your beam routine moving from start to finish. You can't have any of those pauses where you take a second to kind of think and regroup yourself. You have to keep it moving. They're looking for a 180-degree jump sequence, so you have to be hitting those 180 degrees with your legs during your jumps, and of course those landings, so important. They're just as important on the balance beam. As for floor, they're looking for height in their tumbling passes. They're again looking for those 180-degree jumps, so very similar in how the judges are going to score beam and floor. They're also looking for musicality. Again, same thing with floor as on beam. You have to keep the routine moving and you have to keep it engaging for the judges.
Well, we just got the scores from the judges as well, so we'll get those up in just a moment. Still a very tight meet between these two teams as we get set for the third rotation. Yale and Brown competing against each other for the first time this season. You can actually see the scores there on the right side of your screen. The Bulldogs ahead of Brown by a few points at the moment. It was a really solid uneven bars routine for Yale to give them the lead at the moment. They went 48-6 on that last rotation to have a running score now of 96.925 ahead of the 96-2 that Brown has following their vault, where they came away with a 48-0-0 score.
And this will be the big test here for the Bulldogs. Can they hit 6 for 6 on the balance beam? They had an outstanding start to the season on this event. A little bit of troubles in more recent meets, but they have the ability to post a huge team score on beam.
So there you see the update through the first 2 rotations. Still a very close meet, but the Bulldogs did use some dominance in that last rotation to take the lead. Yale's season high in the uneven bars was a 48-675 set 2 meets ago. At the Don Tonry Invitational today, it was a very solid score at 48-6, and we'll take a look at the first competitor for Yale on the beam. It's Charlotte Cooperman.
Charlotte Cooperman loves the beam. She does a great job in her beam routine. Stays very sharp, very confident. Handspring, step out, layout, step out. Not phased one bit there. Working nicely through this beam routine. You're also looking for nice lines, a little beat jump to a switch side. And again, the presentation key on beam as well as floor. You want to see the athletes enjoying it. You want to have a very engaging routine. Charlotte Cooperman works down and then back up to standing. Beautifully executed full turn. Her toe point also on point, no pun intended there. She just finishes off with the dismount. It was a 1.5 to finish off a beautiful leadoff routine for Yale.
It's a rousing round of applause from the fans here at the Lee Amphitheater and her teammates as well. And now we'll take a look at Alyssa Gardner, who was the first on the floor exercise for Brown.
Starting off with a double back. Able to keep it in bounds, and you will see that mat placed there. It is allowed as long as it doesn't get in the way and it's taped off with the out of bounds for the corner. Sometimes it's more difficult to stick your pass, however, if you're landing on a mat.
No, Allison, a few weeks ago, you mentioned that one of the things the judges also like to look for is to see the smiles on the faces of athletes and that they're just having fun with this routine, and it looks like Alyssa Gardner is showing that off.
And that's what you want to see in all 4 events. An unfortunate fall there for Gardner. She'll have to shake that off, try to regroup her energy. But absolutely, in all 4 events, you want to see the athlete enjoying the competition. Gymnastics is meant to look effortless.
It seemed like she was enjoying everything until a little under rotation.
And not enough power to finish off that last tumbling pass.
Back over on the beam, we see Kiara Elaine for the first time this afternoon, one of the seniors competing for the final time at home.
Oh, and she rocks this beam routine when she is on. Unable to square herself up. An unfortunate fall for the senior. Not often you see Elaine fall on the beam. Side aerial, regrouped nicely. She continues to work through this routine. Cat leap to switch side. You like to see her personality. She's the senior captain of this group. Nicely executed full turn. She has a great presence about her. Strong jump sequence. That was a beat jump to a split full.
Set her season high last week with a 9.75 on the balance beam.
And finishes off the front full dismount.
So
Not a bad routine aside from that fall.
A solid routine. We'll take a look back at it.
There's that side aerial. That's after she got up from the fall. She regrouped nicely. And she finished off with, again, that front full. A little pike to get started, but the landing was exactly what she needed.
Bulldogs have had 2 competitors go on the balance beam. Here's the second for Brown on the floor. It's Morgan Hagenbuch.
A Rudy to get started, so it's that front 1.5.
Hagenbuch's season average on the floor is the lowest of the 3 events she's competed in this season. Just a 9.125 average, season high of a 9.3.
And she had a lot of height on that first pass, so you want to see that continue throughout the length of this routine. What a nice sequence there, nicely executed as well. She got their legs straight. She had good form, nice control. Switchering jump also. We saw that 180 degree, which is again the judges are looking for in those jumps. Works her way into the corner for her final tumbling sequence. Taking one more deep breath. Excuse me, that was the Rudy, that was the last 1.5 front twisting pass.
As you see, Jade Buford, the all-around competitor for Yale, gets set for her routine on the balance beam.
Front aerial, little balance check. You do get a deduction if you drop your shoulders or if you look uncontrolled at any given time. Another front aerial, this time connected to a back handspring step out. I love that connection. A forward acro series connected to a backwards acro series. Little cat leap. Able to keep her composure in that jump sequence. Just working through this routine. Aside from that one little balance check, she's been very solid. Front full. That'll do it for Jade Buford.
Buford's averaging a 9.5 on this event throughout the season, but a very solid routine for the junior from Texas that time around. And we switch over to Abby Walsh on the floor, the freshman for Brown. Third competitor for the Bears on the floor routine.
And floor is where you get to show your personality. It's where you get to have fun. You get to pick your music. There's a lot that goes into building a floor routine.
See all different types of music being used. Sometimes it's a little bit more upbeat than others, or a faster beat, depending on what the athlete can do. And you mentioned that the musicality affects the judges' perception of a potential score. But does the rhythm and flow that then the athlete uses with the music, does that also change the score?
Absolutely. They're looking for that musicality. They're looking for strong arm movements in your dance sequences. They're looking for just having that rhythm throughout your routine. Again, you have to be on the beat. You have to have your choreography match your music. This routine right now has been right on the music the entire time. You can tell she enjoys this routine. She's right on the beat. This has been a fun routine so far for Brown.
It sounds like a little Cardi B instrumental.
Front layout, front full. That was a good routine for Brown. We like to see them just fight through all their tumbling passes, get their energy to remain consistent throughout the entire minute and a half.
High fives all around for Abby Walsh. Take a look back at the balance beam routine for Jade Buford.
And that was that front full dismount to finish off her routine. Small little step to the side. And on floor, I believe this is their last pass. Front layout, front full. Almost landed a little too much on her heel, but she was able to get that, what we call a college stick. You kind of dance out of it, or you step out of it, and you turn straight to the judges like it was meant to happen.
Looks like the judges on the balance beam had to confer a little bit after Jade Buford's routine. So Jessica Wang has been waiting for a few moments to get set, but now she's ready to go for Yale, the fourth competitor for the Bulldogs on the balance beam. Allison, what may have caused, if you can remember from Buford's balance beam routine, something that was different from the judges' of their perception of her routine?
Wasn't a lot of mistakes in the routine for Jade Buford. A couple little balance checks here and there, but when the judges' scores are out of range, it does take them a second to have to regroup, consult each other on why their scores might have been So different from one another.
Well, we'll switch back over to the floor routine. Rose Dominowski for Brown, who's got a season high of a 9.7, averages around 9.3.
And I love her smile on this routine. She started off looking like she was having a lot of fun out there. And the music for Brown has also been pretty engaging so far. Very strong music. Everything is right on that beat. Nice jumps, nice splits. And also in those jumps, you're looking for straight legs, toes pointed. Also so important.
And Allison, I don't think we've really seen much that extra mat placed right in the middle. Usually see it over in one of the corners.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. We'll have to see why exactly that's there. Front layout, front full. Another hit routine for Brown.
While Rose Dominowski was going on the floor, we'll take a look back at Jessica Wang on the beam.
Jessica Wang also has such a calming presence about her when she competes. She's a reliable athlete. She has that beautiful bar set, but she also is a competitor on beam. Unfortunate dismount there. Lost her form in the air.
That was her final dismount here at the John J. Lee Amphitheater. She's all set for the afternoon. Senior for the Bulldogs. Lindsay Chia is up next, and there you see Sophia Petrillo for the Brown Bears, who gets set to go as their 5th competitor on the floor routine. Just a freshman, native of Massachusetts. And we've already seen her compete once so far this afternoon. That was in the exhibition for the Browns vault. And then again on the uneven bars, she was part of the scoring team.
Playing the waiting game right now on both sides.
Well, Allison, speaking of Petrillo, who we've seen in a few different areas so far this afternoon, as Lindsay Chia also gets set for Yale, how does a coach really decide who goes in what order?
Yeah, a lot goes into building the lineup for a meet. Coaches will kind of mess around with it throughout the season until they find one that works, but you're looking for consistency in that leadoff position. You're looking for just a hit routine that's not going to pull the highest score, but it'll be consistent. From numbers 2 through 5, you're looking to build a momentum. So you're looking for the routines to get better and better. You want to test the judges on how high they're going to score. And then that anchor position, that 6th spot, have you. As Brown gets started with a double back, a little short on that pass. In that anchor position, you're looking for the showstopper routine. You're looking for that final routine that just wows the judges, dares them to give you a perfect 10.
Solid routine so far for Petrillo.
Yeah, just a little short on that first pass. You have to calm those nerves down as well. You have a lot more energy in the competition environment than you do in practice, so it's learning how to control your adrenaline. That's a huge key. And I love the presentation that Brown has had on this floor exercise.
You were talking about at college, it's the first time really where a lot of these athletes get to compete as a team, and for Brown, a lot of their music has been similar too. It's all the same style and flow.
Yeah, they have a lot of really strong music where they just hit those beats in all of their dance motions, and that's fun to watch.
Very solid routine for Petrillo. We'll take a look back at some of the highlights over at the bar for Jessica Wang.
Yeah, on beam.
Excuse me, for Lindsay Chia.
Yeah, working through this beam routine. Trying to remain consistent. Nice side aerial. I do believe it was another hit routine for Yale. So they unfortunately do have to count a fall because Jessica Wang lost her footing in that dismount, and Kiara Lane had the fall on her back handspring, back layout, step out series. So Yale needs the hit a hit here from J.C. Baldovino.
J.C. Baldovino for Yale on the balance beam. Julia Green up next for Brown on the floor. Green represents their 6th and final competitor. Same with Baldovino for Yale in the scoring portion. And then the Bulldogs have 2 more to compete exhibition-wise on the balance beam, and Brown has 1 exhibition floor.
Choka started right away with her back handspring step out, layout, step out. And no one does it better at the collegiate level than J.C. Baldovino. She always hits that sequence. She has so much confidence in that tumbling pass. And get a little beat jump.
Well, if it's any indication on how strong Baldovino is on the beam, she's got the second highest average for Yale on the beam this season. A 9.77 is her average score.
She is so consistent, she's so powerful, and she's also graceful all at the same time. Baldovino has a great combination of strength and grace. Solid front aerial. Continues to work almost effortlessly here. Cat leap to a gainer full off the side. Little hop on that landing, but that was a good routine. That's going to post a big score.
We'll have to wait to see what the judges think. On the other side for Brown, Julia Green is in the midst of a solid routine on the floor exercise.
We saw Green earlier on vault. She had a lot of power. So that power from vault, a lot of the times you'll see athletes who have a really high aggressive vault also have really high aggressive tumbling passes in their floor exercise. A little sloppy there in the leg placement and the form. But again, no issue with the height, no issue with the power.
We'll see how aggressive she wants to take it too as her routine nears its closure.
And sometimes you have to tone down that aggression on the last pass. That's typically where you're running out of stamina, so you give it everything you have, and sometimes athletes give it a little too much, so you want to see it controlled. And that was as controlled as it gets.
Very solid end to the routine for Julia Green. That's the 6th and final scoring routine for the Bears on the floor. And like you said, Allison, you always want that strong competitor last to try to get the highest score possible. Emma Firmstone now on the other side for Yale. Part of the exhibition routine.
Baldovino getting a 9.775 before this routine from Firmstone. And exhibitions are just great, especially in a meet like this. You get to test your skills out on judges and see how they get scored, especially with the big meets that lie ahead towards the end of the season. You got the Ivy Classic, as we mentioned, coming up next week, the ECAC, and then the USAGs. So
it all goes up from here, is what you're saying.
Exactly, and you're trying to build that depth on your bench per se. There's no benches here, but you do want to have that depth in your rotation. You want to have multiple athletes that you can put out there and rely on, especially at this point in the season where typically you're battling some injuries. You're trying to keep the athletes healthy first and foremost.
And a nice solid landing from Firmstone.
Yeah, I like that exhibition routine from Emma.
Switch back over to the floor routine. Here's the exhibition for Brown. It's Carolyn Warren.
This is a fast-paced routine so far with the music. She's just dancing and enjoying every second of it. The real test comes from that first pass. She handled it well.
Well, in terms of gymnasts on the Brown roster, Warren, one of the taller of the field at 5 feet 3 inches.
Yeah, in gymnastics, if you're over 5'2", you're tall. Sometimes you'll see athletes hit 5'5" at the collegiate level. Very rare though, but they do exist. The majority of athletes are between 4'10" and 5'1".
Warren has not competed in the floor exercise in a competitive meet, not in the exhibition slot this season. Her routine is just finished, and on the other side for Yale, it's their final exhibition. Alyssa Firth on the balance beam.
I love watching Alyssa Firth, and I also love watching her practice. And I get to attend the Yale gymnastics practices. Alyssa Firth is always so locked in. She's so focused. She's been working really hard to earn herself a spot in the lineup on each event.
She's got an extra viewer right now for this routine. Walter has entered the building. Handsome Dan, you can see right in the background.
Biggest Yale supporter out there.
The busiest man in Yale athletics.
Yeah, he was busy yesterday. Went from the men's lacrosse game to the women's basketball game here in New Haven. Alyssa Firth still looking very good on the beam. She works through this routine very nicely. She has good presentation. And here's that dismount. Be a 1.5.
Very solid routine from Firth. That does it for our third rotation. Yale and Brown will switch once more. The Bulldogs head over for the floor exercise as their final routine. And for Brown, they will head to the balance beam to try to make up a little bit of ground against the Bulldogs. But we'll have the scores from this third rotation when we come back between Yale and Brown on Senior Day here in New Haven. One rotation to go in New Haven on Senior Day between the Yale Bulldogs and Brown Bears. It's an Ivy League clash on this Sunday afternoon. Alongside Allison Gaskins, I'm Josh Hess. And Allison, we've had 3 rotations in the books. Last time for Yale it was on the beam. For Brown, they were on the floor. Let's take a look at the scores following those events. Brown made up some ground on their floor routine, a solid 48.5, the best score they've had today. Yale, their lowest score today on the beam, a 47.925, and now we've just got a few tenths of points separating.
Brown was down by almost 7 tenths, and they have definitely built that confidence and worked their way back. This is a tight meet now between Brown and Yale. It's all going to come down to really this fourth rotation, the execution that both teams can provide. Jessica Wang on balance beam, and third rotation looking good. JC Baldovino with a beautiful side ganger, or excuse me. Nice dismount and continuing on floor. Brown looked very good on floor. Again, they made up what they needed to on that floor exercise. They had a lot of good hit routines, not so many stuck landings, but they got the job done to make this a really close meet with the Bulldogs. Good double pike there. Again, so much height, so much power coming from Brown on floor. And really important to see that both teams can keep their composure, keep their energy up here in the fourth and final rotation.
Yale's 2 best scores on the beam in that last rotation came from the final 2 competitors. Just how Barbara Tonry drew it up for Yale, a 9.775 from JC Baldovino and a 9.75 from Lindsay Chia. On the other side for Brown on their floor routine, the best score came from their final competitor as well, Julia Green, a 9.725. She was matched by Rose Dominowski with a 9.725 as well. So we are all set to go on this fourth rotation now, the last rotation between these 2 teams. Yale is on the floor exercise and Brown has moved over to the balance beam. Last time out for a few of these seniors as well on Senior Day here at Yale University. The junior Emma Firmstone starts the floor exercises for the Bulldogs.
That was a false start there for Firmstone. She had to walk off, represent to the judges, and then walk back on.
And as she's going, Julia Green, who just had a nice score on the floor exercises, is competing on the beam, so we'll show you that in just a minute.
Huge double pike there for Emma Firmstone. That is the way to get this event started. Yale needs to try to hang on to their lead. They need a very good showing here on floor.
Differential right now of just 0.15 on the scoreboard.
For anyone watching not so familiar with gymnastics, that is a very small differential in score. That can come down to really just one step back on a dismount. It's coming down to the wire on both sides.
And the athletes can feel it as well. They don't want to be the one to fall or make a mistake at this point in the meet, especially with two Ivy teams competing against each other.
Brown just needs to hit 4 for 4 on this event. And Yale needs to hit, 6 for 6, and Yale needs to hit 6 for 6 as well. Neither team wanting to have to count a fall. Emma Fernstone prepares.
And a good finish for the routine for Emma Fernstone. Has a 9.775 high score on the floor. And let's move over to the beam now with Julia Green.
Now, Julia Green doing a headstand. Not very common that you see that happening on the balance beam, especially at the collegiate level. Finished with the back dismount.
Just
a little short, chest low.
A little slight step back there as well at the very end. That's something that, as you just said, it could be the difference maker, although still plenty of athletes to compete on both sides for Yale and Brown, and a lot of routines still to go before the scores are finally tallied. Emma Hansen is up next for the Brown Bears. Hansen's got a 9.53 average on the balance beam this year.
Handspring, step out, layout, step out. And it's a good day when you hit on beam. So those little mistakes, not counting too much here. Again, you just want to have those hit routines. Want to see that confidence. Excellent jump there. Remaining calm and composed on beam. Checks out where the end of the beam is as she gets set for the dismount.
She's got her coach, the first one over there, to congratulate her as well. We'll slide quickly over to the floor exercise. Here's Charlotte Cooperman, the sophomore.
Charlotte Cooperman has so much power.
Always gives a nice smile, too, at the end of her passes.
She is a performer. She does a really good job at getting the crowd and her teammates involved. Just one tumbling pass left. Should be a Rudy, so front handspring, front 1.5. She had enough power to get that rotation, finished off strong.
We'll go back to the first few passes that we missed from Cooperman.
Front handspring step out, front 2.5. Second pass was a double pike. Chest a tad low. You want to see them land more upright than that, but overall, that was a good routine.
Jade Buford almost ready to go for Yale, the all-around competitor today, the only all-around competitor on both sides. She's had a very active afternoon, as you can imagine. A 9.675 on the vault, 9.75 on the bars, and then a 9.4 on the balance beam, so hoping to raise her scores with this floor exercise. Take a look at Morgan Hagenbuch. She's been very active as well this afternoon. Just competed in the floor exercise as well as the beam. Excuse me. As well as the vault. Here is Buford for the Bulldogs, the junior from Texas.
Her fourth and final event of the day. Your legs are always feeling a little shaky when you get to that fourth and final event if you're competing all around, but Jade Buford, so much height and power on that double back. Nice pike form as well.
Well, everybody competing in this last rotation too knows what's at stake and how close the scores are, and they want to make sure they nail every single pass, every jump, every flip.
And this is where you're tested. This is where you have to show up, compete, and keep your mind calm. Jade Buford always handles the pressure very well. Jade has definitely also learned how to present this floor exercise. She's been working on her dance presentation, and you can see it's paid off.
Everything flowing together very smoothly for Buford.
Just one pass left. It'll be a front 1.5. Connects to a split jump. And that'll save a landing when you see athletes come out of their tumbling sequence. A tumbling pass and connect it to a jump. If you have enough power to do that, enough control, it can take deductions away from what you might not get if you don't stick your landing.
Buford all set on the floor. We'll go back to Hagenbuch and look at her highlights on the balance beam.
Nice split jump. Connected to a back layout, step out. Balance check there, slight deduction. There's that concentration pause that you need to work out of your routine. You don't ever want to see an athlete standing still for more than a second or two on the balance beam.
Just a small hop on her landing. So overall, a very solid routine from Hagenbuch. 3 competitors have competed on both sides now, so we're halfway through the scored portion, but each team also has 2 exhibition athletes to compete in this final rotation, and now it's Rebecca Chong to continue the floor exercise for Yale. Chong earlier this season set a 9.75, excuse me, a 9.85, where she came in first place against Penn a few weeks ago.
Double pike. She always has a lot of power on her tumbling passes. She is a strong athlete, a good competitor. Rebecca Chong has changed up her floor routine also a bit. She used to start with a double Arabian. She's changed that to that double pike that you saw. Out of your screen, the entire Yale sideline dancing with Chong. They all know her moves like the back of their hand. Rebecca Chong putting on a presentation.
She's really starting to feel the music on this pass.
Double back to finish off her 3 passes. And an incredible jump sequence, back-to-back-to-back jumps.
Very fast-paced routine, it felt like, Allison.
And she had a lot of energy, a lot of power in that routine. And here's some of the highlights. Starting off with that double pike. Form is good. I like the landing on that too. Maybe just a bit low, but she was able to find her footing. She did a good job there. Second one just as strong as the first, and this double back to finish off the routine.
Really hard landing for her there.
Yeah, you want to see a little more control on those landings, but I love the energy she competes with. Over on beam, we're also slowed down a bit as the judges have to have a conference to compare their scores for the last competitor. Must have been out of range.
This is following the Hagenbuch routine before Rose Domanowski can take the balance beam, so she's waiting right there to get started. But as you said, Allison, the judges just having a quick conversation about it.
And these conversations are mandated when scores are out of range.
And this has been an extended conversation too. It's lasted pretty much the entirety of Chong's routine and now spilling over even further. Up next for Yale will be Alyssa Firth on the floor routine. She gets set, just having a few last words with her head coach Barbara Tonry before she gets set. This is a very young Yale team as well. We talked about the fact that it's senior day here, just 5 seniors, 3 of which compete. So a lot of underclassmen with a chance to prove themselves and get ready for next year and postseason competition this year.
Which is huge because you're building that experience through having these young athletes compete in their first year or sophomore years at Yale. They're going to be very strong in the upcoming years.
Alyssa Firth is underway as Dominowski continues to wait next to the beam.
That was a double full. Connected. I like her music. I like her dance as well. It's choreographed very nicely. Front handspring, front layout, front full. A lot of front tumbling for Alyssa Firth. Actually, all 3 of her passes front tumbling. Finish off with the Rudy, which is a front 1.5. That landing could be a little bit more controlled, but another hit routine for Yale.
And right on cue, Rose Dominowski is set to go. The sophomore from Park City, Utah, quite a ways from home.
Working through this beam routine. Ooh, way to stay on. Call those monkey toes where you turn sideways on the beam and you do everything you can in your power to stay on. It's better than a fall.
She had a long time to wait as well, had to stay loose. We saw her stretching a little bit. Hopefully that didn't throw her off too much as the judges were conferring after the last routine.
That waiting game can definitely play tricks on your mind. We know all these athletes are capable of every skill in their given routines. They practice them day in, day out, but it's about controlling the mind at the same time as your body. That's the key. An unfortunate fall moments ago. Have to shake that off. Front layout. Front full for the dismount.
Overall, the rest of the routine definitely had some highlights, and we'll take a look back.
That was where she just lost that balance, lost her core, but was able to stay on.
But did have some trouble later in the routine where she did come off the beam, and there it is.
Yeah, when you drop your chest that low, it's really difficult to try to stand back up.
Now we'll go over to Kiara Elaine, the senior captain for the Bulldogs from Houston, Texas. Her final routine here at the John J. Lee Amphitheater.
Oh, and she is a performer on the floor exercise. This is her favorite event. She loves to get the crowd involved. Double back, excuse me. So much height.
Already set a career high a few weeks ago at the Don Tonry Invitational, a 9.900 on the floor.
Front layout, front full. She wastes no time between her first and second pass. That just speaks volumes to the energy that she has, the strength to carry that off. And she performs this routine. She's so exciting to watch on floor. Last year she had a little Michael Jackson in the middle of her floor routine. This year has a little bit of Beyonce. You can just tell that this is meant for her, this routine.
You can tell that she's had a lot of influence too in creating the routine.
She works it. Double pike for her third and final tumbling pass here as a senior. And that is a routine she can be proud of.
and gets a huge ovation, not just from her teammates. She'll go down the line to get a high five from everybody, but the great crowd on hand today at the Lee Amphitheater, also a good round of applause. Now back over to the balance beam with Sophia Petrillo, the freshman for the Brown Bears.
Oh, and doing everything she could. A nice save there. Those saves, unfortunately, though, do exert a lot of energy.
This is the 5th of 6 competitors that will count towards the scoring for Brown.
Brown just wants her to stay on the beam. Gainer pike off the end. And way to stay on. Shake off that almost fall. Be able to catch herself.
We'll take a look back at some of these highlights here. We'll start with Kiara Elaine's great floor routine.
That height. She gets so much height. She has so much power. I just love watching her compete on floor. Double pike to finish off that 3rd and final tumbling pass of her senior at-home season.
And this was back on the beam with Petrillo.
And that's where she was able to just catch herself. Unfortunately, her hands did touch the beam, so it'll be even a greater deduction. The gainer pike off the end. Pulled her chest up quickly to salute the judges.
So now we'll have 2 exhibitions for the Bulldogs, starting with Anna Jennings for Yale. Jennings, the junior from Indianapolis.
Anna Jennings, also the sports information director for the Yale gymnastics program. So double duty here, not just an athlete.
She literally knows this program inside and out.
And she writes about it, so if you check out the news on the Yale women's gymnastics page, and she whipped that one around a little low.
Does have a career best of a 9.7 on the floor, but while she's in exhibition, we'll go back over to Cassidy Jung on the beam, the 6th competitor for Brown, and that counts towards the scoring.
6 athletes compete on each different event. Only the top 5 scores count. So Brown needs a hit here so they can drop that fall earlier on. Cat leap to a switch side. And I got on beam. You want it to look effortless. You want it to move from start to finish. Have consistent movement, strong arm placements. Everything needs to stay in line. Front tuck, and check that out. That was a good landing.
Got the whole team excited as well. Just a few more movements to make on this balance beam routine.
She has such good flexibility as well. You can see in her jumps. She's able to get that 180 degrees. She has nice toe point, good lines. Also a factor in the final scoring. Her legs so straight. Front full, almost stuck. Had to take that small step back to regroup herself.
Overall, very solid routine, and Allison, overall, it just seemed like she was radiating confidence the entire time.
Yeah, she never stopped. She looked very good, very confident, composed as well. I love that front tuck. Executed well, and she finished with a front full. A little under-rotated where you saw her seat drop back a bit. She was on her heels. That's why she had to take that step back to check her balance.
So we've got one more floor exercise for Yale. JC Baldovino, the 2nd of 2 exhibition routines, the sophomore from California. Last year's ECAC Rookie of the Year, the reigning ECAC Gymnast of the Week. And she's got a season high of a 9.625 on this event.
Yeah, she has competed in the top 6 multiple times this season for Yale. Today, just an exhibitionist. Start off with a double pike. That was one of the best double pikes I've seen yet on floor today. Again, what you mentioned about JC Baldovino on beam. It's just that she has so much power as well as grace. She's beautiful to watch. gets set for her second tumbling pass. Punch front layout, front full. Again, nice and composed. This is a score Yale would have probably wanted to count to the final. She's presented it well. She'll finish off with a very difficult tumbling pass. It'll be 2.5. It happens so quick you almost miss it. A little short on that rotation. But wow, yeah, a score Yale probably wish counted in the top 6.
Quick check over on the final moments of Sophia Miller's exhibition routine on the balance beam.
Another front full. Finish off her exhibition routine on balance beam.
The first year has not competed towards the scoring yet this season, but overall a solid bar routine. She did have one fall in the middle of it. Yale is all set on the floor routine. There is one more exhibition to go for Brown on the balance beam. That's Alyssa Gardner. Saw her compete in the vault earlier, as well as the uneven bars and the floor exercise, but she's not going for the all-around since she is the exhibition on the balance beam.
And Brown is a unique program in the sense that they only have 14 athletes on their roster, a very, very small roster, and they compete, all 14 athletes that are on their roster. So it's very unique that you see that happening. They don't have a lot of depth, and that's something that they have been focusing on this season, just adding depth where they need it, and they need more athletes contributing on more events. So you don't just have your one apparatus specialist, but instead multiple athletes that can contribute if needed on multiple events.
I think that can also grow some of the team camaraderie as a whole, because everybody's competing, everybody's critiquing each other and working together on different events, so it really brings everybody together. Now Alyssa Gardner is on the balance beam, our final routine of the afternoon.
And they all know that they need each other. They rely on each other because there is not so much depth that they all know every single routine, every opportunity counts, which will definitely help build a team dynamic early on. That's that flight series on the beam. Nice one-legged landing. Tests your balance. Gainer full off the side, chest low.
And they make it look so easy, Allison, but that is clearly a difficult routine to nail down for Brown. And that does it for our fourth and final rotation. We'll have the scores and highlights from that fourth rotation when we come back. It's been an exciting dual meet here between Yale and Brown on senior day. The team separated by just tenths of points coming into this final event, and we'll have the winner for you when we come back. You're watching the Ivy League on ESPN+. Back at the John J. Lee Amphitheater, we are all set to give you those final scores after the fourth rotation is done. But before that, Allison Gaskins will take a look back at some of the highlights from the fourth rotation. It was very successful for Yale on the floor, and Brown also had some good routines on the beam.
Both teams really dominated in this fourth rotation, not getting their season best on either event, but both teams putting on a good show right now, and that is key right now in this meet. Again, it's not to get your season high score, which I know both teams did not reach today, but to build that confidence going into the Ivy Classic next week. Alyssa Firth had a good routine for Yale on floor, as well as Rebecca Chong with a lot of power and a lot of energy, but the senior, Kiara Elaine, hitting all three of her passes with so much grace, so much power, and she really did it for them on floor.
Right now at the John J. Lee Amphitheater, we've got the Senior Day festivities going on, but there you can see the final results from the meet today, the dual meet between Yale and Brown. The Bulldogs do come out on top. It was a really close margin heading into that fourth event, but you can see Yale had their best event of the day on the floor routine, a 48.925, just a couple tenths of points lower than their season high this year, and Brown on the beam had their lowest score of the day, a 47-2, and in the end it was about a 1.5 differential, almost 2-point differential between these two teams.
Yale really came out and killed it on floor in that fourth rotation. That is what did it for them. Brown had them neck and neck going into that fourth rotation, but were unable to get the job done on beam. And it is very difficult, Josh, to finish a long meet on the balance beam. You're tired by that point. You have to work on that stamina, on that mental capacity. And Brown just kind of fell apart on beam. But they could shake it off because these two teams get to see each other again next week.
That's right, and we've got the top scorers in each event. It was the second half of the meet that really helped the Bulldogs through, but back in the first half, Alyssa Gardner for Brown led the way in the vault with a 9-7 score. 3 Yale athletes all had a 9-6-7-5. That was Alyssa Firth, Jessica Wang, and Jade Buford. In the next event, the bars, the Bulldogs took first place. Jessica Wang had a 9-8-7-5. Maylee Costa came in second with a 9-8-5, and then J.C. Baldovino for Yale had a 9-8-2-5, so a very tight event there. And then in the second half of the meet, it was all Bulldogs. J.C. Baldovino took first in the beam as well, a 9-7-7-5, followed by Lindsay Chia's 9-7-5 and Charlotte Cooperman's 9-7. The top score for Brown in that event was a 9-6-2-5 by Emma Hansen. And then in the floor routine, 4 different Bulldogs came down with a 9-8 score. That's what helped Yale to the 48-9-2-5 total score. That was all tied for first there for Yale, and the top scorer for Brown in that event, a tie between Julia Green and Rose Dominowski with a 9-7-2-5. And the all-around for Jade Buford, she came away with a 38-5-50 final score. Once again, the Yale Bulldogs defeat the Brown Bears in this dual meet on Senior Day here in New Haven, 193-775 to 191-9. And Allison, as you hinted, these two teams will meet back up next week at the Ivy Classic down in Philadelphia. What are your final thoughts after today's meet?
Both teams definitely have some improvements to make from tonight going into the Ivy Classic next week. They need to clean up those little details, work on their sticks, and try to hit 6 for 6 on all 4 events. That is going to be a huge focus for both Yale and Brown heading into next week. But a lot of positives also coming away from this meet. Saw a couple improvements from different athletes on various events. And at this point in the season, that's all you can ask for.
Well, there you have it. Just some high-level competition coming up next with the Ivy Classic. And just a few more dual meets to go for both of these teams before the ECAC Championship and potentially the NCAA regional rounds as well. So for our entire crew and Allison Gaskins, I'm Josh Hess saying so long from New Haven, Connecticut, where the final score is Yale 193-775 to Brown's 191-900. All events are archived on the ESPN app, and this has been a presentation of ESPN.